Amen. God bless you all. Thank you for being here, for sharing this time with us today, for sharing your spirit, your energy, your love with us today, so that we can dive into God's Word and do it together. Because it always, when we come together, that's where God's presence comes down. That's where we get inspired. That's where we get encouraged. God's Word comes through when we get together. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us online today. We are finishing up this series on Love Works. A reminder, right? A reminder that love is the reason for creation. It is the impulse that drove God to create. It is the thing that gets us up in the morning. It's the thing that we all aspire towards. It is a possibility for all of our lives, but we do have to do a little work to get there, and we are all putting in the effort. This sermon series really just serves as a reminder. I'm not expecting it's something new to you, but we do need reminders sometimes. We need reminders of the importance of love, the work required for love, and what we're gaining out of giving love, right? So today we are continuing that. Today is routine maintenance, and we are talking about that daily investment, that choice we make. You see, in the principle, it talks about joy naturally arises when we achieve a agreed upon outcome. Hey, me and you, we're trying to make some music. No, that would be terrible. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make a friendship with someone. I'm trying to connect with someone. And when we give and take and we create that outcome, and it sounds beautiful and it looks great, right? Then we have joy, right? And so we're all striving for this, but we need to constantly invest into it. It doesn't just happen by chance. It doesn't just happen because two people are in the same room, but they make a choice to invest in each other and create something together. So routine maintenance is about that choice, that decision to give love every day, to invest in one another every day. It's kind of like your car, right? Sometimes people think about they've got a great, big, beautiful car and all the wonderful things. Maybe they spend a lot of money on that car. But if they don't routinely change the oil, if they don't keep up the maintenance, right, then it's going to break down. And that's the same for all of our relationships. We might have gotten lucky with our family, with our spouse, with a friend, that they just light up our life and they give us everything we ever wanted. But if we don't routinely invest in them, if we don't give back, if we don't check in on them, then eventually, somewhere down the line, it will fall apart. And it's really difficult to rebuild a relationship that's already been damaged. So we want to keep up the maintenance. We want to keep it working well. We want these kind of relationships, friendships that last, people that will go the journey with us. That you can call them up and say, hey, I've got a project to do. I've got an emergency in my family. I've got something fun planned. And they can get up and go with you because they know, hey, with you, good things happen. With you, I'm blessed. And so I want to be with you. And so when we are investing in the people around us, we can find these people. Maybe you've got one or two people you can think of right now that you can call up and say, hey, let's go. Let's do this. Let's do life together. Let's go on this adventure. And they'll connect with you. They'll make a way to connect with you. We all look for this. Actually, God wants us to have this in our life. He wants us to not go it alone. He wants us to not just find Him alone or give our life to God all by ourselves. He wants us to not come back to God, the Heavenly Parent, all by our lonesome, but He wants us to do it in a group, right? Just like when He created the world, He created Adam, and He said, well, it's not so good for him to be alone. So I created a helper. I created someone to go through life with, someone to connect with, someone to give and receive with. And that way, the creation was complete. So when we find someone, we need to cherish them. We need to lift them up. We need to encourage them, because with that other person, our life is complete. This was really the message that we received. I don't know if you got on yesterday. There was a rally of hope. People from all around the world got together, and they were talking about how do we solve the problems in the world. They're talking about things like food production and giving it out, but they were also talking about governance and how to free people, how to open up places like North Korea, how to make a harmonious relationship. everything comes back to a very simple solution. Sometimes it's so simple people don't want to accept it. Sometimes it's so simple that people say we need to pay for a new study because that can't be the solution. But the solution is family values. The solution is a restoration of marriage, a restoration of family, a restoration of parenthood. The solution is introducing people to a heavenly parent, a God that loves us, that cares for us, and raises us up, encourages us to step out and do more in our life, right? These are the solutions, but they seem so simple that we sometimes write them off. But in fact, it's not simple, it's so difficult, and that's why we don't always maintain them. But this was the solution, and it was amazing. One of the speakers was Mike Pence, the former vice president. You might have heard of him, right? And he was sharing, and he said, after this whole COVID thing, many people are hoping that we can return back to normal. But he said we shouldn't be aspiring to return back to normal, but we should be paving the way towards a new future for our children. Something better. We should forge something better for the future, right? This was the encouragement that we should create some system, some families, some marriages that are better than they were before. We shouldn't always be looking to the history to teach us, but we should look towards God's vision of the future and walk into that. So we need to think a new way. How do we maintain our marriages? How do we invest in them? Maybe the marriage is okay right now, but it could use a boost. How do I invest? How do I infuse that new energy into it? Maybe my friendships are good right now, but how could I take it to the next level? How can I invest into it? One of the things that I've learned is it was really easy to make friends when we were little, right? Friendship is so easy when you're little. You walk into a room and you go, oh my goodness, you have blue shoes. I like blue shoes too. And suddenly you have a friendship, right? It's amazing, right? Oh, you guys are playing soccer? I like soccer. We're friends, right? It's amazing. And kids are making those connections all the time. The trouble is maintaining those connections, right? And as we get older, it's harder to just come across a new friend. You don't walk into a coffee shop and go, hey, how are you doing? You want to be my friend? Little kids will do that, right? They'll go onto the playground, hey, you guys are playing? Can I play? But we don't do that, right? That's very difficult for us. Sometimes we get very shy. So it's really important as we get older that we maintain the relationships we already have, right? We don't want to lose a few friends we make because it's really scary to go out and make a new friend. I mean, I encourage you to go and try and make new friends, but it is challenging. And so how do we maintain the relationships we have? How do we invest in them so that we can keep these smiling faces even in our older age? Even as we advance, we can keep having this laughter with people that care about us, people that care about our well-being, people that would call us up and say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How do we build those relationships that we have people that are concerned for us? We need to maintain these relationships. In 1 John it says, dear children, let us not love with words or tongue, but with action and in truth. Right? Not just saying I love you, but showing up to one another's lives. Not just saying I care about you, but proving it in the way that we share our lives together. By calling one another up, by connecting, by reaching out, by offering to take them out for lunch, These little things show our love much more than any word. I sometimes think about it, hey, I told my wife I love her, isn't that enough, right? She knows it in her head, but does she feel it, right? So I need to make an effort. I need to think, oh, maybe this morning I'll bring that coffee up to her bed. Instead of just saying, hey, I love you, wake up, let's go, right? And that little effort shows the love much more clearly than any word I might express. And so we need to think about, are we expressing love right now to the people that we care about? Are we calling them up? Are we messaging them? Are we reaching out to other people? So many times we get busy, right? Who gets busy? Anybody ever get too busy to remember to call someone? You're like, I was going to write that note. I've got so many emails. I got to connect with that person. They're about to have a baby. I really want to reach out to them. Oh, they're about to get married. I want to reach out to them. Oh, someone got sick and I want to write some message. Oftentimes for me, it's also, I want to give more, and I go, oh, I can't just write a little note. I've got to write something big. And so I end up not writing anything at all. Does that happen to you? No? Okay. Sometimes I think, oh, I've got to answer their question. I got to express some big love. And so I don't do the little note, right? But I realize actually the little note means something. The little note is encouraging. So it's about investing into people. These are the hands of true love. I was looking for a picture that really exemplified true love, right? It's in the hands, it's in the effort, it's in the work. It's someone that makes stuff, that shares time with you. Each wrinkle here to me really expresses, this is probably some dinner rolls she was making, over the years, and how that wore on her hands. This is her knitting sweaters for her grandkids, right? And how that wore on her hands. This is her working out in the garden to, grow those perfect tomatoes for that salad. And she invited everyone over on Sunday evening to share in that salad. These are hands of true love. True love is in the expression, in the action, in the investment. When you look at your parents' face and you see wrinkles on their face, you don't have to think, oh, those are just stress because of all the stress I put them through. Maybe these are love, that they worried about my well-being, right? They were up late thinking about me when I was out on the town, right? These are their worry wrinkles because they loved me so much, because they were concerned for how I was doing. Right? When we look at hands like this, when you look at someone's hands that have worked their whole life, that's all their dreams, their hopes, their blood, sweat, and tears in those hands. They cared for someone with those hands. They built something for someone with those hands. They made a home for a family with those hands. It's these expressions that show true love. This is what we're waiting for, to know true love exists. It's not in the nice words that you hear or you write. It's not in the perfect Hallmark card that you picked out. But it's the effort that goes behind it. It's the connections. It's the little things. But love truly is a choice. It's a daily decision. So many people these days are looking around for the right connection, right? Oh, if I just walk into a room and I find the right person, I'll know it, right? When I walk in and I meet that special girl, I'll know it as soon as I see her. My eyes will light up, my heart will flutter, and that'll be over, and then I'll know I can move on with my life, right? But really, love is a choice. It's a decision. It's an active action. It's something we decide to do each day. And so when we think about, do we want our life filled with love? We have to think, am I willing to make an effort to make that life happen? Am I willing to step out there each day and choose to love? Even when I'm uncomfortable, when I'm sick, when I'm tired, am I going to choose to make people feel valuable around me? And it's not easy. Otherwise, everybody would have love right now. Because you just wake up in the morning and everybody would be loved, right? But it's something that we have to train and develop in ourselves. How do I give love? How do I choose each day? For children, it's a little easier because when they wake up in the morning, they have a mom or dad that picks them up out of bed, that gets them their breakfast ready and prepares everything for them, and they naturally just respond. But as we get older, the friends of ours, the partners of ours, they're not just spending their whole life, investing into us and waking us up and wiping our butts, right? So we don't have this natural occurrence of just, oh, I love you, right? We have to choose to invest back into them. But this is really the big difference in this world. And a lot of people don't know this simple secret or aren't reminded of it often enough, that we have to choose to love. We have to create love. We have to invest and give of ourselves to get a response of love. The world isn't just waiting to pour love into our lives, but they will respond when we do give love. So when we think about our friends and the people we care about, will we go out for coffee with them this week? Will I call someone up and say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's go spend some time together. Let's just talk. I just want to tell you about my life. I'm going to go through all the different things that I've been going through. And I want to share those all with you. And you spend time with them. And you invest in them. And then when they see you sitting across that table, they know that you've got stuff to do. They know that you've got work to do. They know that you got a husband that's calling and saying, hey, when are you coming home to cook dinner for me? You know, they know that things are on your plate, but you've chosen to take a little time to sit with them. It makes all the difference in the world. It shows visibly your love. The expression of your love becomes tangible to them. When you think of love, you think of, taking a little time to sit with your grandmother or your mom or dad and just listen to their stories. Grandma, what's on your heart? Grandpa, what are your stories? And maybe you've heard them before. But sitting at that table, sitting with them and listening and taking it in, lets them feel valuable again. Lets them feel like they matter. And their life is meaningful. And that simple act of listening, of hearing them, of spending time with them, is this great expression of love that can fill them up for months at a time. Every time I call my grandma, she gets so excited. She sometimes doesn't remember my kids' names and stuff, but she's so excited to hear them. And she goes, and once she hears the name and goes, Mirelle, I'm so glad you called. That little time that we spend makes all the difference to her. Because it shows that we love and that we care for her. Or we think of our spouse, right? We get busy, right? And our spouse knows we're busy. They know that we're working really late, and they know that we're working really hard, and we're worried about paying our bills, or we're worried about a kid, or we're, concerned about our health, and they know these things. But when we choose to, despite those difficulties, spend time with them, to invest in them, to say, well, honey, how was your day? Not just I want to express my day, but I want to hear about your day. Maybe even though you're tired, you come home and you make a glass of water for your spouse. Just say, hey, honey, here, I thought you might need this. So many times we take for granted the people that matter the most in our lives, right? God placed the most amazing person in the world for you, and they live in your home. And they sit across from you at the dinner table. And in your mind, you know that they love you, right? And they know that you love them. But just making that effort to not just forget, and not just to take it for granted, but to invest in them makes all the difference. Can make them feel like they're seen again. How many people, they work every day, and they go into the workplace and they invest so much, and nobody really pays them any mind at work, and then they come home and they see their spouse or they see their kids, and they also feel like no one really sees them. So making these small efforts to recognize one another, just a little word, just a little look, can change your heart, can open it up, and allow God's love to flow through. God designed us to have these relationships, to have these sparks, to have these connections. God designed us to not live alone, but we need someone else. And so when you do that for your spouse, for your kid, for your parent, it allows God's love to come in and their value to come through once again. Heart is the essence of God's being. Heart is the impulse of love. God feels joy when he can give and receive love with his beloved. Isn't that amazing? Right there, just God, the creator of the universe. His joy comes when he can give and receive love with you. You, right here. God feels joy when he can give you love. You light up from it. You feel inspired. You feel encouraged. And you smile back at God. You sing the little song. You say a little prayer. God feels so much joy in that moment because you took time to respond to that love. But even more, God loves each one of us individually and rejoices when we return his love, but also we multiply it by loving others. When God gives us a little and then we make it a lot. When we go, oh, I felt so good today. I want to share it with my friend, with my brother, with my sister. God feels so much joy. Just like a parent that sees their kid, they get a gift at their birthday, and then they go, hey, little brother, let's play with this together. You go, oh, wow, they made this big step, and God feels that same joy when he sees it multiplied in this world. God waits for us. This is one of his greatest desires, his greatest hopes, is that his children would recognize one another for what they are, brothers and sisters, family, and give love to one another. So in the principle, it says that love is, or heart is the impulse to give love. It's an impulse to give, to unite with another person, to find a way where we actually combine our lives, that we create something together. Love is a force of creation. It pushes everything together. It pushes two polar opposites, a husband and a wife that do completely different things all day long. It pulls them back together at night to talk with one another. It pulls a brother and sister that are so different day and night back together to create a fort in their living room, right? It pulls two friends that live across the street from each other that have very different life experiences to come and sit down and have some tea together. Love is constantly pulling us together, and when we respond to this impulse, we create these unions, these little circles of love that God has designed this world for. We create these little explosions of love that can go out into this world when we initiate that love, when we give to one another, when we look for opportunities to serve, to invest. When I hear Father Moon's teaching, it always comes back to living for the sake of others. How can I invest myself for you? How can I look after your needs? How can I fill something that's in your heart? This is our greatest calling in life. How do I create relationships? How do I take the love that I receive from God and give it out to someone else? How do I complete someone else's circle? So I'm going to end with 5 simple tips. And you've probably heard these before, but again, just a reminder. Because I know you know a lot of things. I know you're very smart, and I know you've already heard so many things, but I want to just remind us. Because sometimes that's all we need, right? Just a little reminder, just a little nudge. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I got a reminder this morning, and then I put something in my bag right away. See? Sometimes we just need a reminder. Our mind gets busy. But so 5 things. The first is, these are 5 love languages. They weren't designed by me. These are Gary Chapman. And he talked about this idea that different people are going to receive love in a different way. They're going to give love in a different way. And the more we recognize that, the more opportunity we're going to have to make real connections. You know, many times my wife will give me a gift, and I'm not a gift giver. I don't really, oh, that's nice, thanks, okay. And maybe I even say, how much did you spend on that? And she really gets me, because she'll go, oh, this was in the clearance section. Ooh, that gets me excited, right? But it's different for her. I don't know if she would respond the same way. If I gave her a gift and said, hey, don't worry, I didn't spend much money on you, honey. I don't know that she would respond the same way. But it was good, right? It's good to understand these different things. So I can receive her gifts a little better, and I can smile when I receive them and not go, oh, you wasted money, right? But I can receive it because I know it'll make her feel good. But I also know what ways that she can give me better gifts, right? There's different things. So the first one is going to be quality time. This is really easy. I mean, we're all busy. We all have a very little time, I'm sure, right? We're all busy people. We've got things we want to accomplish. Quality time is not quantity of time. It's not just that we're going to sit together all day long. And that's not the point. It's this undivided attention time, right? Maybe you don't have a lot of time to take all your kids out for a meal or to go, but maybe you can take one of them out this week. Sit with them, look them in the eyes, and listen to them. Right? Just quality time. Maybe you don't have all afternoon to play with your kids, but you'll make it a point, Sunday afternoon, we're going to play a board game together. We're just going to play it. And even if they don't follow the rules or they try and cheat, whatever, we're just going to smile about it, we're going to laugh about it. People don't grow out of that either. My grandma, I hope she's not listening. You got to watch her when you're playing dominoes. She's sweet and she loves to play. And if you just take a little time to play with her, she loves that, right? And we're happy for her. But, just spending some time with someone you love. Just carve out a little time. Say, hey, we've all been busy, but I'm just going to take 20 minutes to give you a phone call. It doesn't even need to be face-to-face. It doesn't even need to be like that. But I'm going to invest in them. I'm going to take some time. We're going to go for a walk together. We don't have to do anything specific, anything spectacular, but we're going to spend time, right? So maybe this is a goal for you. Maybe this is your love language. This is how you feel loved. Make an effort to find someone this week. Hey, who could I spend a little quality time with? Who could I take out? The second is gift, right? Gift is important, right? Little signs of your love. Little signs that say, I was thinking of you, right? I was walking through the store the other day. I was looking to buy some bread, and then I saw this little tiny toy, or this little tiny sign, or this little card, and it just made me think of you, right? And when we do that, right, we're recognizing the value that this person occupies space in my mind and my heart. Even when I'm not with you, I think about you. It's not about the cost of the gift, but about the thought, right? We've all heard that before, but it is true, right? It's about thinking about the person. And when we give these little gifts, we remind them, you're valuable, you're precious to me. I will invest for your sake. The third one is words of affirmation, right? Just letting someone know that they're good enough, that they're great, that you admire something about them. The better is to be more specific, right? Not just, hey, good job, but hey, I really appreciated how you cleaned up the house, and it looks more open, it looks more clear in the house. I feel like I can think better, right? And then when you let them know these words, right, they really feel, oh, someone noticed my work. Yeah, I do work really hard to keep this house clean. I did work really hard to make that meal. Oh, I did work really hard to cut the hedges and make sure the yard looked nice this week. And I'm really glad someone actually noticed, right? So these words of affirmation, it's such a simple thing. But again, it's showing that you're noticing another person, that you recognize their value. And it means the world to so many people. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. Right? It can be all you need to do. The fourth is acts of service. Sometimes it's not about saying I love you or giving gifts, but it's doing something for someone else. Going out of our way to make that cup of coffee, going out of our way to help out at work and help another employee. It's not your area of responsibility, but you're going to make their workspace cleaned up a little bit, right? Or you're going to help them finish a job. They say, oh man, I've got to stay an extra 2 hours because I've got this extra data I got to input and I'm really stressed about it. You go, hey, can I help out? A little effort, right? It might take you a little time. It might be a little investment, but that service, that action really shows love to other people. Sometimes that's the only way they feel love. If someone would just help me out for 10 minutes in the kitchen, right? I feel so happy. So it's these acts of service. How can we live for the sake of others? And finally, physical touch. It can be holding someone's hand. It can give a high five to a kid. It can be a hug, an embrace, just holding someone for a little bit. Now, many people never have physical connection. They go day in and day out. They wake up in the morning. They go to work. They see people, but nobody touches them. And it's amazing the impact that one touch can have, one hug can make on someone's life. That feel, that connection. We make more, effort with babies, right? We're told you have to hold them so much. You have to have so much skin-to-skin time. But when people get older, we forget that need still is there. To feel the touch of another human being. To be caressed, to be comforted, to have your hand held. Makes all the world of a difference, right? This little moment of intimacy, this connection. And so these are 5 ways that you can invest into the people that you love. 5 simple things that you can do this week. Each one of these doesn't take a great amount of effort. the effect is life-altering. And so I want to encourage you this week that if you've been feeling God's love, if you've been feeling encouraged, if you feel love in your heart, you are grateful for the people God has placed in your life, if you honor those connections, those relationships, and you want to make this world a little better place, start with one person. Start with one connection, one relationship. Take time to be with someone else, letting them know, affirming their value, letting them know how much you love them and care about them, and just change their world. And from that spark, you can encourage many other relationships, people to start living their life again, people to start holding their heads up high again, people to start feeling that they are valuable once again. God is waiting for us to do this. God is waiting for these simple, everyday relationships. So as I finish, I just want to encourage us. You know that it seems simple. The family pledge, true family values, the family is a school of love. These ideas seem so elementary. But we need a reminder about them. And the world needs a reminder that it's these simple efforts, these simple connections that change how someone lives their day-to-day life. These simple affirmations keep someone from doing something that's going to hurt themselves or others. If someone knows that they are truly loved, truly valued, they can avoid doing something that will hurt themselves and others. It will allow them to think, hey, I don't need so much money that I'm going to make this little scam. I don't need, this physical connection so bad that I'm going to take advantage of this girl, right? When we love and affirm people, we remove the need for them to take value somewhere else. And so I just want to finish this by just letting us know this is an act of God. This is something that God is calling you towards. It's not just a nice message, but this is the message that God calls us to take the love He's put into our hearts and multiply it into this world. And only in this can we start changing this world and bringing it back to God. So I want to encourage you this week. We can do it. We can make those little efforts. We can make a tremendous impact in the lives of people that God has placed in our life. And God needs you to do it. So let's do it together. Let's encourage and support one another. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of your time. And let's offer it back to God. Let's bring God in. Good morning, God, our loving Heavenly Parent. God, you look down on us and you feel so much joy. Each person in this room stimulates your heart, excites you. God, you are excited each day thinking, what is it that this child is going to do today? Who are they going to love? How are they going to create? What are they going to invest into? God, let us bring excitement to you this week. Let's do stuff that you've been waiting for us to step into for a long time, God. Let's challenge ourselves, step beyond our boundaries, and maybe even surprise you with the love that we create this week or that we generate in this world. God, I pray for each person here that you can encourage them this week, that you can give them strength and power to do the things that they know they need to do, to create those relationships that you've placed into their life and make a difference in this world. God, I pray that you can be with each one of us and encourage us. I pray that you can be with this world today. So many people are still suffering with sickness, with illness. People are suffering with not enough food. People suffer without someone to love them, someone to call them up, someone to encourage them. God, I pray that we can make an effort as your sons and daughters to go into this world and change that for them, to make a difference with our lives, to make an impact and bring this world back to you, God.